Candid interviews with decision makers.
What about you, Woman Rep? What are your plans?
No, Jeff, I've done Woman Rep for 9 years now. There's a saying in Luo that where you shower, you don't dry there. You dry somewhere else. So I'll be moving on and running for governor of Homabay.
Hey!
Yeah.
Hey! Chair of the Finance and National Assembly Planning Committee here in the House. Also, Homabay Woman Rep Gladys Wanga. Mheshimiwa, good to see you. Karibu sana on Hot 96.
Asante sana, Jeff and Clyde. Morning.
Good morning. Thanks so much for your time. So tell me, break this down for us. What does that mean? Rejecting an imposition of tax on bread and basically what? Excise duty on borders?
Yep. So, Jeff, the finance bill is brought as revenue-raising measures. So when you see the budget read and it's 3.6 trillion, then government has to have ways of raising that revenue. How is it going to raise money to be able to fund that budget? And sometimes it's through taxation, and other times we raise money through debt and other ways, but mostly through taxation. Mm-hmm. So the finance bill every year is to outline, how is government going to raise money, and they vary small things. And this year is a very difficult year. It's very tough times because there has to be a very delicate balance between raising revenue and cushioning Kenyans because of the COVID-19 pandemic, which is, ravaging the whole world, and people are down. I mean, people have lost jobs. People are in very difficult spaces. But the government must consider that, but must also consider how to raise revenue. So when we talk about bread, for example, there was a proposal to put bread in the exempt category. Exempt means that it's exempted from VAT and remove it from the zero-rated. Zero-rated means if you bake bread, then you can claim back the money that you use for the input. So if you remove it from zero-rated and put it in exempt, what's going to happen is that any additional costs from the manufacturer was going to be put down to the consumer, which means we're going to see the cost of bread going up. And that is what the committee said, no? At this particular time, when you talk about bread and when you talk about unga, maize flour, wheat flour, these must remain zero-rated. So this is what the committee did, to leave bread, unga, maize flour, wheat flour, cassava flour, zero-rated. On the issue of motorbikes, there was a proposal to move the tax away from the usual 11. Right now, if you buy a motorcycle that is imported, you pay 11,000 on it. So what the proposal was to make it a percentage, like 15%. So if you buy your motorcycle for 100,000, then you pay 15,000 instead of 11,000. So that's what the committee also said. No, for this point, let's not increase anything, because what the border industry is doing for us in terms of cushioning our young people. Not that it's the ultimate job, but it's employing hundreds of thousands of young people in this country. So that was also to cushion that side of things. But other things that we also did was around the issue of clean cooking, because of, environmental issues, was to exempt, clean cooking stoves, biogas, digesters, and so on and so forth, just so that we can also preserve the environment. Then the some issues around, the blue economy, fishing equipment, and so on, to also exempt those, to zero-rate transportation of cane, because the sugarcane industry is also, suffering a lot. There's the issue of confectionery. We wanted to impose excise on locally manufactured confectionery. That's an industry that employs over 5,000 people directly. But also, if you walk around kiosks anywhere, people are selling sweets, confectionery and so on. That's what they're doing for their daily living. So we removed that excise and increased excise on imported confectionery. So if you want to eat imported chocolate, Jeff, pay for it.
Right.
But then the local guys protect them, so that we find a way of raising the money while at the same time protecting our local industries. Then there was the issue around artists.
Yeah.
And the skiza tunes. And Jeff, this is a very, very pertinent issue, because if you put a skiza tune on your phone, it's because you like that artist. I mean, that's the reason you put a skiza tune. So the artist should be able to get enough, money from enough share. But right now, that sharing is skewed. And as I said, when I spoke on the floor, I am going to be carrying amendments to the Copyrights Act, so that we define a sharing that favors the artist. But for now, what we did was to remove excise from the skiza tune. When you call the skiza tune, there is an internet element, and to remove tax from it, so that the money available for sharing is a bit more. Because right now there is tax first, then Safaricom takes their own, then the agents take, then the artist takes a small part. So first we remove that tax, and then now we proceed to amend the Copyright Act. And the artists have made appeals, and I want to just thank the president, because the artists made an appeal to the president, they made appeal to Right Honorable Raila Odinga, and they also came to us and said, can you do something to help the artists? So I think the artists should be grateful to these leaders that they have met and have also talked to us to push some of these elements. So this is what we are talking about.
Right. Okay. At the same time, it's very Monanchi friendly, it seems, right now. Gamblers will feel a little pain.
Yes, what we did in terms of gambling was there was a proposal of 20% on stake, and what we said was move it a bit up, but divide it among the different gambling areas. So whether it's prize competition or whether it's betting or whether it's so you divide it across and you put it at 30%. You divide it, and then it comes to a total of 30%.
Mm-hmm. And what about you want a timeline given on the retention of key taxation documents? What does that mean?
Yeah, so Jeff, if you're doing your business today and you're keeping your documents, currently the law requires you to keep them for 5 years. So that up to 5 years, if KRA asks you for your documents, you should be able to produce them. But there was a proposal to extend the time to 7 years, so that you have to keep your documents for 7 years instead of for 5 years. But we rejected that because we said, right now the world is digital. So surely, why should you expect people to keep their documents for so long, yet KRA itself is able to work digitally, quickly, and able to, ask you any questions? Because the idea of keeping your documents is that KRA can come to you anytime within those 5 years and tell you that you evaded tax here or there, and so right now with the digital world, because even our returns now, we file them digitally.
Also, the committee proposed transporters to be removed from exempt list.
Yes, the transporters of so there are two transporters here. So what the bill was proposing was that if you're doing exportation service, then you should be taxed. So exportation service includes transport, which means if you have trucks transporting goods from Mombasa to Kampala, then you will have a tax imposed on you. But what we said as a committee is that will make you, if a transporter is transporting goods from Uganda into a Ugandan transporter into Kenya, they won't have a tax, which means they will be more competitive than a Kenyan transporter. That's why we said, no, let's leave Kenyan transporters also, zero rated and tax free, instead of imposing taxes on them. That's why we're removing them from exempt and putting them in zero rated.
So where is the bill now? Where are these proposals right now?
So last week, Jeff, I want to really thank members of Parliament, because they came out in their numbers. They looked at these proposals. They supported them 100%. So the way legislation works is, once a bill comes, a committee does its report, and so the Finance Committee did its report and tabled it in Parliament. Members of Parliament supported the report and passed it. Then now, if you have the actual amendments, and this is where the actual lawmaking happens, you go to what is called the committee stage. So you say, this clause, we are amending it this way, and members agree, and this one, we are amending it this way, and members agree. You go clause by clause by clause in the entire bill, and that's what we did on Thursday last week. So right now, because these bills must come into force, any tax measures must come into force by 1st of July, which means either today or tomorrow, we are hoping that the President will assent to the bill. So it is now at the stage of assent. The Parliament has finished its part. The ball is now in the President's court to assent, and if once he assents from 1st of July, the reliefs we should see them kicking in, and the tax measure should also be kicking in.
You have literally 48 hours. What's your feeling, Mweshimiwa? Do you think he's going to assent to it?
I think he should be able to assent to it, because he is also, he also agrees that at this difficult time, we must work as hard as possible to cushion the very lowest of the lowest in society. So I think he will assent.
Worst case scenario?
He doesn't assent and he returns. But when he returns, he will say, he will not return everything. He will just say, I don't agree with you in this particular clause. And so can you relook at it? And for you to overturn it, you need 2/3. So usually I don't remember any time in my history in Parliament, the last 9 years, when Parliament was able to return or reject a presidential memorandum, because it's very difficult to raise the 2/3.
Yeah. It's been any way you look at it, it's been a very difficult year. Huh?
It is.
Watu wameteseka sana.
Sana.
Huh? Will this help relieve, cushion at least a little bit?
Yes, I think once we should be seeing a drop in the price of maize flour and wheat flour and cassava flour for those who have it. We should see a drop in the price of bread. So we should see a drop in prices of certain commodities. So if and this is, we're going to be watching out for this, Jeff. If manufacturers do not bring the prices down, let's call them out. Let's all call them out and make sure that any incentives that we give actually trickles down at the end of the day to Mwananchi, because that's what we're trying to do.
Okay, you say this in Parliament, you legislate it, it becomes the law, and then on the supermarket shelves, it doesn't reflect.
So Jeff, why don't we go with you to the supermarket shelves the second week of July? And if the prices haven't come down, let's call out the manufacturers. Let's give them July. Let's see if they actually drop them, and we expect that they will drop the prices of flour and of bread. We expect that should go down.
Yeah.
Mheshimiwa,
you have been rated as one of the most hard-working legislators in the National Assembly. Congratulations.
Thank you.
For that. And here we are. We're always giving Bunge a hard time.
Yeah.
But you guys, some of you work quite hard.
I think members really do try. Let me tell you, and I'm thankful that Zalendo said, I'm one of those who speak quite a bit. And members speak on the floor of the House, but they also speak in committees. So there are some who haven't been ranked, but work very, very hard in the committees of the House. But then also, Jeff, there's the House, and then there's also ground. Unajua? So lazima pia ground mtu ajipange. So unajua, unaweza ongea hapa watu wa ku ground wakuambie kizungu mingi ile unapeleka Nairobi, jipange huko, so it's a very, very wide scope of expectation.
Let's face it, kuna wengine hata hawajaongea hata kidogo huko kwa bunge.
Hapo lazima they must pull up their socks. Lazima waongee kidogo tu, ile ya kuweka jina alafu ndo.
The situation, the COVID-19, it's really spiking, huh?
Yes, and it's a big concern.
Yeah.
It's a very, very big concern for us at the moment, and we are trying as much as possible as the leadership to try and encourage our people on the issues of funerals, because the super spreaders now, matanga. Unajua, now people are told that 50 people should go to a funeral. Traditionally, we are people who mourn. We mourn the dead. We mourn with oomph, so and so it's very difficult change of culture to change, but we are urging our people to try, and some of us are also trying to stay away from some of these occasions, so that there's just not the crowds are not as large. So the spike is there. We are fearful, whether we prepared well enough, and sasa tunaona watu wanaambiwa beba oxygen yako ukikam. Sasa watu wanapata oxygen wapi? Unajua? So some of this, there's also some level of ill preparation in terms of so mtu ajichunge, as much as possible. So the message we are giving to our people, you avoid crowds, put on your mask, do the protocols, wash your hands, sanitize, jiweke tu as much as you can.
One of the most developed countries in the world, America, 500,000 people, more, died. 500,000. And now they are back to rallies and sports and all that stuff, and you wonder, what happened? Or will we get there?
I think the magic there is the vaccine. sasa tujipange na vaccine. Let's as much as possible. I think especially the single shot vaccine that we've been told is coming, the Johnson & Johnson, let it come. Wacha watu wetu wapate vaccination. Let's put as much money as possible, Jeff, even in this our 3.6 trillion budget. The 14 trillion or the billion or so that we've put, if it's not enough, let's keep appropriating for vaccines and gavai jipange. Let's see where else we can get vaccines from. Let's get as many vaccines as possible. If we vaccinate 10, 20 million of people, watu watarudi tu normal people, because we'll now get herd immunity and people will now continue with their work. Lakini lazima we must spend on it, and then we must have an efficient system of vaccination. And especially, I think if we can do the single jab, the single dose one, it's good, because sasa kuna mtu kurudi nini. So you're vaccinated, you go. You're vaccinated, you go.
Now, the BBI got to the High Court and was rejected, and they said reggae had stopped.
Reggae must be back. And we just go back to that. Nobody can stop reggae. Wacha reggae irudi. Wacha reggae irudi.
Yes.
Wacha tuendelee na reggae. Nobody can stop reggae, Jeff. Wacha tuendelee na reggae. Wacha tuimalizie. Let the people decide. This is about the people. It's for the people. Let's take it to the people. Let it not be said that the courts stopped it, somewhere. No. Wacha iende. Kama wananchi wanaitaka, sawa. Kama wananchi hawaitaki, pia watasema. But nobody can stop reggae except the people themselves.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Na ikienda paka Supreme Court?
So what we hope for is there shouldn't be, an injunction. If the Court of Appeal says yes, proceed, then there shouldn't be a stay. If there is no stay, then it means the process can continue. Even as people go to the Supreme Court, sasa watu wataendelea to put the arguments forward, but the process will be going on.
But there's still a window to save BBI.
There is, because if the Court of Appeal, if so today people are putting, the hearings begin. We hope that by the end of July we have a position one way or the other. And if it says proceed, if the position is let's proceed, then IBC begins the preparations for a referendum. If people move to the Supreme Court, we just hope that there is no stay on these other processes. I mean, the Supreme Court can be listening and pronounce itself for the record, and for posterity, yet the process will have proceeded. Because if it again is stayed, then it means that the court will be using, technicalities to stop the BBI. Yeah. And I think that's what we wouldn't want to see.
When you spoke about IEBC, the creation of 70 new constituencies, come on, let's face it, it's impossible in this time frame.
Yeah, that's very, very tricky. The limitation is sensitive. The limitation is emotive, very, very emotive, needs time, needs consultation. Let's see how it goes.
What about you, Woman Rep? What are your plans?
No, Jeff, I've done Woman Rep for 9 years now. There's a saying in Luo that where you shower, you don't dry there. You dry somewhere else. So I'll be moving on and running for governor of Homabay.
Hey!
Yeah.
Hey! That's a very bold declaration.
Oh, yeah. That's where I'm headed.
Na kuna mtu alikuwa governor Nairobi, hata yeye
huyo tutapambana huko.
My goodness.
Hata atapambana tu kwa ground.
Wewe Kidero na wengine
and others. We are ready.
And at the end of the day, nobody can stop reggae.
Nobody can stop reggae, Jeff. Wacha reggae isonge mbele.
You give a lot of hope to women out there, by the way. The women who are fearful, especially for running for those top seats. Wanaogopa sana. Like this time we had how many? 3? Why are they so fearful of seeking those top positions? Or Kenyans are not, the rest of us, the male population, are all ready for women governors?
It's very difficult to venture, because first of all you have to work twice as hard to just get half the recognition. that we are in a very patriarchal society. But, the glass ceiling has been broken. The women who went ahead of us, the ones who become governors this time, I think right now, if you run for Homabay, you can say, look at Ngilu, look at Anne Waiguru, look at Joyce Laboso. They've all made it. Look at, and the other big inspiration, and by the way, you may not know, is look at Samia Suluhu. People, our villages are alive to these realities of women leading. Look at Kamala Harris. They are alive to these realities. And with women keeping on pushing, Jeff, the path is opening up. And we continue to push, Jeff. And politics, there are two outcomes. You go in, you either win or you lose. But you never know whether you're going to win or lose unless you get in. So even for women out there, jikakamue, mama ni effort, ruka hapo ndani, skuma, usiogope. And then if you get, you get. If you don't, you live to fight another day. And that's the spirit. So we will keep on pushing. Na sisi pia tutaingia huko. Hopefully, Jeff, next year, August, pia nitakuwa hapa na High Excellencies. Governor of Homabay.
I love it. I love the spirit and I love the energy. Mheshimiwa Gladys Wanga, thank you so much for your time. And good luck with this budget.
Yeah.
Good luck with the governorship that you just announced. And we look forward to speaking to Governor Gladys Wanga.
Asante sana, Jeff. We pray for that.
Oh, and Katiba has a special song for you coming up. Nobody can stop.
All right.